getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Welcome to Change the Conversation with the Hopefulist. My name is Wendy McClure, and it's time we had a conversation about living in a patriarchy and how that affects our lives. Together, we can make a difference and change the conversation. Hello and welcome. I thank you so much for being here, for putting in the work, and for trying to open up your mind and attempt to change the conversation along with me, because we are all stronger together. And I honor you for being here and attempting to help do just that. So today I want to talk about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, because it's kind of a necessary evil. We all, strive to be comfortable, but we all also know that we don't really experience much growth when we are in our comfort zone. So it's often when we get out of our comfort zone that we discover new things, that we discover a different way of thinking, a different way of living. We have to be able to grow and evolve over time in order to stay with that feeling of aliveness, with that sense of purpose and fulfillment when you get up in the morning, like I did with pickleball. Like can't even imagine my life without pickleball now. And what would have happened if, when the group of girls that I was hanging around with, when the one said, I want to show you this game, pickleball, it's really fun. If I would have been like, nah, I'm not going to do that, because I'm not a sporty person. I don't really do a lot of sports or what have you. And I was like, but I took a chance. And I kind of jest when I say this about pickleball, because, it's pickleball. I mean, I understand. It's pickleball, but I'm obsessed with it, as you well know that. I play it all the time, love it. And it gives me a sense of purpose with not only the social aspect of it, which is fantastic. You meet so many people when you play pickleball. And I've thought about this. Somebody else said it before me, but it's so true. I've met literally hundreds of people through pickleball. Hundreds and hundreds of people through pickleball. In fact, I had the funniest story the other day. There's a woman that I've been playing with for, well over a year, probably 2 years. I see her most mornings when I go to play pickleball, and she sent me a friend request on Facebook. So we're friends on Facebook, and I must have commented on something that she had posted, and a friend of mine who I haven't really been in touch with but have known for a very long time chimed in and said, how do you guys know each other? Like, oh my God, how do you guys know each other? And I remember Patty had just said pickleball, ha ha. And I really didn't think about it again until recently. I was talking to Patty at pickleball over the weekend, in fact, and somehow we were talking about how it's a small world and how all these people know each other. I was like, by the way, I've been meaning to ask you, how do you know Tanya? And she goes, Tanya, my daughter? Like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I had no idea that was my friend's mom. And I've been playing pickleball with her for well over a year. So it also gives me the opportunity to try to level up my skill. And I'm constantly trying to find ways to be better. And that is satisfying my competitive nature and my goals, like just the fact that I want to do better and better and better. I want to be a better pickleball player at the end of this year than I was last year, or even, I want to be a better pickleball player at the end of this year than I am right now. So, it's given me a lot to do, a lot of purpose. And the same thing with the women's rights issues. I do a lot of volunteering, and I go to meetings, and I organize things, and I donate money, and I do all this stuff because it makes me feel like I'm doing something that means something to me. It makes me feel alive. It gives me a sense of purpose, a sense of fulfillment. And I think that we all need to get a little more comfortable with being uncomfortable, because I wouldn't have done any of these things I just mentioned if I let my fear of the unknown stop me. So I'm not saying that I'm any better than anybody else. I'm just saying that I've never really had that much of an issue with trying new things. Now, again, it depends on the thing, but you really just need to put yourself out there. And, the older we get, the more we just want to kind of just stay home in our little home cave and not go anywhere or do anything. And I urge you to not do that, to continue to explore and find new things to do and challenge yourself. That's how we really have a feeling of aliveness, is when we challenge ourselves. So I wonder, how different do you think life would have been if you were taught how to sit with your discomfort and work through those feelings instead of ignoring them, like most of us have done, and pushing them down, where they actually just fester and infect so many aspects of your life, if not every aspect of your life, because you can't just ignore a feeling without it affecting you in some way. Like I had been, pessimistic and miserable most of my life. And it wasn't until I started diving in to some of the reasons that I felt like a victim that things started to change. So you have to kind of dig in. It's hard. It can be painful. It is most certainly uncomfortable, but it is also necessary. It's necessary to figure out how the things that in your childhood you wish would have been different, you need to address how that has affected your life, how that has changed you as a person throughout the years, and how you can change in the future into a way that you would rather live. And this goes right hand in hand with the patriarchal society that we live in. So many of us are taught these rules and the role that we play in society based on these patriarchal norms, regardless of whether it's what we want or not. I grew up, thinking that I was going to get married and have children. And when that didn't happen, I turned in on myself. It was my fault. There was something wrong with me. And this is all by design. They want you to feel that way because they want you to settle. They want to get across that any man is better than no man. And we all know that's not true. We do know that's not true. And now the generations coming up know that to be true too. Way more so than my generation of Gen X did. I still just felt like there was something wrong and incomplete in my life because I had not gotten married. Not only that, but society led me to believe that once I got married, it was going to be magical. Like all the pieces finally fit, that is, and I was whole, and that, I was going to have that feeling of fulfillment and purpose. And that never happened for me when I got married, like I was promised that it would, because again, that was a lie. So, you have to be able to deal with these uncomfortable feelings, even to recognize and deal with your own internalized misogyny until you can get over that fact that we've all been conditioned to live a certain way, that way that serves a patriarchal society best. And you have to admit that you've been duped. And it's not just you, it's all of us. We have all been duped. The only people who haven't been duped are the newer generations who have figured out that they don't need a man for their happiness, that women are entitled to have a life outside of marriage and motherhood. And I wasn't taught that at all. And I probably let it affect me more than I should have, but I just saw all of the signs and I took them to heart because I was so insecure with the fact that I wasn't married. And of course, I internalized all of that. I made it all my fault. It was all my fault that I couldn't find a man. Nobody wanted me. And that's exactly what they want to happen, because then I'll likely just settle for somebody who wasn't really up to my standards, just to actually be married. Luckily, I didn't do that. Luckily, I still got a great man, but not before feeling 20 some years of feeling like I was broken, like there was something wrong with me. So they have done this to women for generations and centuries, and it's very directed to keep everything as the status quo. They make women so busy and so likely to blame themselves for everything that we don't even have time to think that maybe this system is rigged against us, which it is. Of course, I've been saying this for well over a year now. Since you've been listening to this podcast, you know that the system is rigged to make us insecure, to make us so busy with everything that we have to do. We don't have time to think about anything else besides all of the work that we have to do, the weight that we want to lose, the wrinkles that we're worried about, what have you, whatever it is. Just even the fact that we're aging is, something that they tell us is horrific. Women are not even allowed to age in peace. They're not allowed to age in peace. And it's funny, I'm on TikTok and I have been getting onto the other side of TikTok. And when we say that, we mean the opposite political views. And I'm saying a lot of things that they don't like. So they have they've taken to coming after my appearance. And mostly they call me a man because I guess that's what they feel is going to hurt me the most. I've heard other things. They call me grandmom. And I'm very well could be a grandmom. I'm at an age where I could have a grandchild. I don't like to think that I look like a grandmother, but luckily I don't get my self-worth from strangers on the internet. And just a few years ago, that probably would have bothered me a lot more than it does now, because I was insecure enough to think that if somebody said such horrible things about me, that would mean that I shouldn't be doing it, that I shouldn't be out there saying it, that I shouldn't be making videos at all. And now I know better. I know because I don't get my worth from outside of myself. I know exactly what I'm worth, what I'm about, what I believe, and who I am. And I like that person. I think that person is awesome. And if people on the internet want to try and make me feel bad about myself, it's not going to work. Again, it would have a couple of years ago, but it's not going to anymore. This is another way that they try to get women to not speak out. They try to shut them down and hurt them in a way that makes them no longer want to speak out. And women do it too. I am shocked at the amount of women in my comments on social media that are just bashing my appearance. It's so disappointing. I mean, truly disappointing. But it is what it is. And it doesn't matter to me if it's a male or a female that's putting me down. I'm not going to put any stock into any of it from anyone. But I just wish that women would learn to be on each other's sides. That even though you might not like what I'm saying, you don't have to attack my appearance. You can attack my ideas, and I'm ready to go to bat for that. I'm ready to debate and to, as long as you want to deal in facts, which a lot of people on the other side from me don't seem to want to do. But there's just no reason to come at me with some sort of, insult about my appearance. That's not somebody who wants to have a conversation. That's not somebody who wants to talk about ideas. That's somebody that's just specifically trying to get me to feel bad about myself so that I will shut up and stop making videos. And that is not gonna happen. I can tell you that much right now. So we changed the conversation moving forward by doing exactly the opposite of what I was just saying. We help all women wake up to this patriarchal society that we have been living in and under and conditioned to our entire lives. We talk to each other about our experience and how we can lean on each other through this awakening. Because again, it will be uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable to realize that you have been duped. You have played right into their hands. It's kind of like with the person that's running for president right now. I hate to say the name. There's so many people have been taken in by that person, and they refuse to admit that he might be the wrong choice because they don't want to admit that they were fooled, that they got one over, that he got one over on them. They don't want to feel foolish, so they refuse to give in, so to speak. They will just continue on, and as long as they possibly can, and it's got to end at some point. It's got to. And that's what I want to say to you about this internalized misogyny that we have. The fact that we've been conditioned since we were practically born. Again, girls are given dolls and play sets and told to play house, where boys are given sports and building blocks and things that, change the world. And this all starts very young. So we need to talk to each other about it. We need to encourage each other to question the status quo, to question why things are the way that they are. Like, for example, I've spoken about this before, with they're coming at women about abortion. They don't really care about abortion. They don't really care about the unborn, because if they did, they would enact laws to help women take care of their children. They would enact laws that would help the babies. They would enact laws that would give babies a better fighting chance to get started in this world, to give better health care so that they will be better taken care of in their health. No, they are doing this because they want to control women. And they are only using that as a scapegoat. Because the more women have the time to think about questioning the status quo, questioning why things are the way they are, why have they always been the way they've always been, the more we are all waking up. There is an awakening happening, and they knew it was going to happen. And that's why they've been fighting for the overturn of Roe for the last 50 years, because they knew that once women could survive on their own without depending on a man, they would start to figure a lot out. And we are. We have been conditioned to be a certain way. I have fallen for it. I became a huge football fan. And now I wonder, did I become a huge football fan because I wanted to be the cool girl? Did I start watching football because I was truly interested in it? Or did I think, wow, that would be like something cool if I met a guy, if he thought I was a football fan? I'm not saying I know that it was one or the other. I don't really know. But it's very likely that that's the reason that I started watching football, is I was like, well, I'm sure that guys would like it if I watched football. If I knew about football, that would be, cool in their eyes. And I'm not going to stop watching football just because I got conned. because I do love football now, regardless of the reason that I started watching it. But it's okay. It's all right that I got conned. It made me fall in love with something that I really do enjoy, that I, look forward to and spend a lot of time doing, watching the games, going to the games, wearing sports paraphernalia and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's okay. So I had to go through this awakening by myself. You won't have to, hopefully. Hopefully, as we start to talk to each other and question the status quo, question everything, like, why are women still in charge of all birth control? All birth control. We are even in charge of getting condoms at this point. Somebody comes back to your house, been a long time for me, but do you have any condoms? We are now in charge of getting their birth control. We have to be on the pill. We have to get our tubes tied. We have to get the thing inserted in us. I don't know what that's called, but I hear that's very, very painful as well. I still can't think of the name of it, but I don't want one. I don't know. No, thank you. When again, and I've said this before, and I've even had people say to me, yeah, I think that's going a little too far, asking men to have vasectomies and reversing it when it's time for them to have children, when they decide that they want children, or they can keep their sperm in a sperm bank until they're ready to have children. It is such an easy procedure for them. It takes like 20 minutes in an office, where women have to go through all these hormonal changes when they're on the pill, all of this pain when they're getting the diaphragm. Finally remembered it. I think that's what it's called, right? Diaphragm. Anyway, and even the one birth control that they are in charge of, that we are now expected to get, the condom, all they do is complain. Well, it doesn't feel as good. Oh, well, who cares? Who cares if it doesn't feel as good? It still feels good. If it doesn't feel as good, then don't do it at all, okay? I don't think that's going to be the route that they're going. So I think that it's perfectly feasible and reasonable to ask teenagers that are sexually active to get a vasectomy and have it reversed, or use something that was frozen when you are ready. It does not affect them in any way, shape, or form like it does women. Women are going through all of these issues, medical issues, for birth control, and they don't care. They don't care. And the only reason that it seems ridiculous is because it's never been discussed. But the more you think about it, the more you will realize that it makes perfect sense. The only reason that we think that it's out of the question is because we've never asked men to take responsibility for that particular thing. It has always been on us. All of it. Always. Why? Why are we the only ones? Because we're the ones that get pregnant, correct? That doesn't mean that they can't take some responsibility. And again, if it were truly about saving unborn babies, they would require men to get vasectomies when they have determined that they no longer want any kids. Or at the very least, they would stop supplying Viagra, because if, as I like to say, your willy won't work, that's God's plan. You want to say that if you get pregnant, that's God's will? I say it's the same thing. If your willy won't work, then you shouldn't get medication to help you. Maybe you should just be done with that part of your life. That's what would be going on if it were truly about preventing abortions. But we all know that it's not about that. So you don't have to go through this awakening alone. I unfortunately did. None of my friends agreed with me. My family didn't agree with me. They refused to open up to being uncomfortable, to examine these feelings, to ask these new questions. And it's been very lonely. But I'm here for you, first and foremost. But I also think that there are a lot more women waking up to what has been happening to us for generations. So the more that you talk to other people and truly just get them to understand, I wasn't able to do that. People just cut me off. They, instead of, trying to have conversations about it, they just cut me off. And that's fine if that's the way that they want to handle it. But if you can describe to them and try to make them understand how this has all been done by design and what the purpose of it is to keep women in their place at home, taking care of babies, not in the workforce, not supporting themselves, not making their own goals and dreams come true. No, that's only for men when it comes to a patriarchal society. And they have let us go on too long with being in charge of our own dreams and goals and being able to work and make our own money and buy property and get, loans from the bank and have a bank account at all, or a credit card. Again, it's only been 50 years since women have been allowed to do some of these things. They're now, some states, trying to get rid of laws that were created to protect pregnant workers, Texas being one of them. I know that's not a shock to anybody. But they're trying to get rid of laws that require them to have special circumstances for the women who are pregnant in the office. They don't want to deal with it. Well, she shouldn't be working anyway, is I'm sure what the legislators feel in Texas. So moving forward, keep in mind this acronym. Okay, are you ready? We're going to be talking about quack, and that's the society's doctor that we've been listening to our entire lives. And turns out he was a quack. He was a quack. He had his own agenda. He wasn't worried about you. He was only worried about himself. So the first thing in quack is question. Question everything. Why are the women in charge of the birth control? Why are women being denied life-saving abortions when there's no fetal heartbeat? When they said there would be exceptions for those women, turns out they're not making those exceptions. Why? Why are they doing that? Why are women who are feminists, who are trying to obtain equal rights for women, demonized and given, the name of being evil and, angry and all of these different things, that this terrible stigma that's attached to any woman that speaks out against the societal norm? Why do you think all of that is? Again, you put this all together, it makes complete and total sense, but you really have to think about it, and you really have to sit with the discomfort of knowing the world can be a completely different place. And it's everything can be completely different than it is right now. And that's work. That's hard work. It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to go through. But I urge you to do it. Understand in quack. You in quack is understand. This will be uncomfortable and people will disagree with you. There is no doubt in my mind that people will disagree with you. It will be hard for you. You will think, maybe I should just go back to the way that I was because it was easier and everybody liked me. This is called growth. This is called evolution. This is called the right way. It's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to grow and learn and evolve, and that's what you're doing. And as long as you feel good about what you're doing, and I'm not talking about, you will feel bad that people left your life. I did, but it had nothing to do with what I was doing. I didn't feel bad because of what I was doing. I felt bad that they couldn't understand why I wanted to do what I'm doing. So make sure to think about all of that as you go through this process. I want you to think of the A in quack as action. Take action to figure out what is working for you in this patriarchal society and what isn't. Then act to change it. And you can change your life forever. You can make your own rules. You can do that. The C in quack is compassion. You will need to have compassion for yourself all through this process. You did what you were taught to do, what we were all taught to do. We all did it. You are not the only one who fell for it. I was duped just as much as everybody else. But the faster you can admit that, the faster you can move on from it. And you now have a whole world of possibilities in front of you. And that sounds pretty damn kick-ass to me. The K in quack, I was going to make it kick-ass because I just love kick-ass. But I decided to go with knowledge for the K in quack. Now that you know better, you will be expected to do better for yourself and those around you. And if you're like me, you will want to learn even more, gain more knowledge about other things that you may have never considered before. Look into the lifestyles of different cultures and people who have differences than you, like, maybe the gay and lesbian experience or the Black Lives Matter experience, how they have come up in this country and how their experience has been compared to your own. These are some of the things that I have delved into in just the last couple of years. There's so much that we don't know about that we have never considered. And the deeper I get into it, the more I realize I'm never going to be able to find it all. I'm never going to know it all. But I would like to know as much as I can because I like to understand. And I like to have the knowledge. So I hope this wasn't too much for you today. I know I threw a lot at you. But, if you're struggling with this at all in any way, shape, or form, feel free to reach out to me. You can get in touch with me through my website at hopefulist.com. You can send me an email to thehopefulist1@gmail.com. I would love to, help you through this, to help you understand why this has happened, what the benefit was, and how things can be very different for you moving forward, and how to deal with that and navigate that whole journey, because it is indeed a journey. So spread the messages, do the work, journal, journal, journal. I say it all the time. Journal your thoughts. It helps so much for you to work through your feelings. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't already, please give us a 5-star rating for the show. Leave us a review. Tell us what you really like about the podcast, what you would like to hear more of. Feel free to let me know. Different subjects and topics. I'm happy to take it all under my wing, and just keep doing the work. It's always worth it. So now I want you to go out there and be badass, because we are all stronger together, and I'm here cheering you on. Thank you for joining me in this conversation. Together, we are better. Please visit my website at hopefulist.com and remember to hit that subscribe or follow button.